and the red light is on, which in this case, red light means go. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Friday, October 4th, August 4th. Good God. In the year 1321, I am your host, Jebediah Molasses Garbanzo Bean. Welcome to the end of the week. Coffee cheers. Shout out to my mom for the coffee cup. You are my sunshine. Thank you, Mom. Wherever you are, I love you, whether you're covered in burrs and poison ivy or not. True story, guys. My mom sent me a photo a few days ago. She was covered in burrs. If you don't know what burrs are, Google Oklahoma burrs and you'll see. Anyway, I wanted to touch base because I haven't filmed a video this week for no other reason than I've been kind of out of it mentally. And I've been focused on doing some other things. I haven't been tuned into you have to mentally be into the YouTube flow. And when you get out of the YouTube flow, mentally, you kind of forget about it. And you go, why am I making videos? And then you get back into it. And that's what I'm doing today, is getting back into it because I wanted to share with you guys an update on the, I'm fully entertained with this vegan thing. If you don't know, and I know when people bring up the word vegan, I lose my mind too. I'm like, oh my God, here we go. But I'm playing around with it and having fun with it. I'm not saying you should. I'm just going to share what I'm doing. It's been about 3 weeks. Haven't had any meat, no animal products, no milk, no cheese, no gelatin, nothing that contains an animal in it in any way, shape, or form. To the best of my knowledge, I haven't consumed any animal products. Number one, I feel great about that because I honestly love animals more than people. I mean, I've always said that. I used to say this phrase all the time. I love you all, fuck the world, and animals are people too. It was something like that, but it ended with animals are people too. And people used to laugh, but it's true. Like, I've always loved animals. I release insects from my apartment. I'm that kind of guy. I always have been. Mom said I was a sensitive kid when I was 3 years old. I was just a sensitive boy. And to this day, I catch moths, insects, anything I see in the apartment. Instead of killing it, I release it out of the window if it has wings. And if it has feet, I just let it run around and do whatever it wants. Unless it's a gigantic spider with hairy feet, then I will smash it within an inch of its life. Or a snake. If a snake came in my apartment, he has no chance. I will hit him with everything I have. But you know, most small animals, I release them instead of killing them. And so I feel good about about not participating in the mass genocide of animals. I read a statistic this morning that said 59 billion animals are killed every year, I think either in the U.S. or in the world, just in factory farms. That's how many animals we kill per year, about 50 to 60 billion. It's almost 200,000 a day that are just slaughtered. I mean, you watch the documentaries, it's horrific. And granted, they show the worst of the worst, but it's horrific. I've lived near slaughterhouses and chicken farms before in Oklahoma, and you can smell them. You can smell the chicken death and feces and rot for miles. 5 miles from the place, you'll smell it. And then you get to it, you can barely drive past it. Same with slaughterhouses. You can smell the death. You can smell this weird smell. I remember there was one in Ada, and we found out what it was. No one talked about what it really was, but we found out what it was and what was going on in there, and it was disgusting. But anyway, I'm actually surprised that I've been able to make it because, like I said, I've tried this 2 or maybe 2 times in the past, and it lasted about 2 days. Normally, after watching a documentary, I would just go, that's it, I'm going vegan. I'd start eating celery, and beans. And after 2 days, I'm sick to my stomach, quit, and go back to eating meat and forget all about it. A few years later, try it again. And this is what happened this time. But this time I used YouTube and researched it, and it's really helped because now I know that there's tons of food I can eat. And I'm not going to die without eggs and meat, apparently, and milk and all that kind of stuff. No dairy. I haven't had any dairy. And recently, this week, I moved into more of a convenience thing and more of an experimentation thing just for fun. I moved into doing 1 meal a day. For the first part of this thing, I was doing just regular eating. I'm intermittent fast in the morning. I just skip breakfast, stop eating about 8 p.m., start eating about noon the next day. I've been doing that for 3 years. Really like it because it simplifies your life. You're no longer waking up and making food. You're just waking up, drinking coffee, and working. And I watched a YouTube video about a guy that was eating one meal a day, and he talked about the productivity benefits and the mental clarity benefits that you get those benefits from intermittent fasting, but they stop at noon when you eat. Anyone that does this intermittent fasting knows that at noon when you eat, you get tired, you eat a big meal, and it's kind of the day's over. But this guy was just pushing it until the evening. He wasn't eating anything until the evening, and then around 6, 7 o'clock, he'd eat one huge meal and go to sleep. Some people call it the warrior diet. I've heard it called that before, and I always kind of laughed it off like, that's impossible. Who could do that? Intermittent fasting is hard enough. But then I decided to try it. Just because I'm sick of my routine and cooking, and now that I'm not eating meat anymore, I'm not cooking as often. It's completely changed the way that I look at food. And so I wanted to take it a step further and try this one meal a day. The first day I did it, it was fantastic. I loved it. I got hungry around noon because that's when I usually eat. But I just went ahead and let that go. And it took about 30 minutes and the hunger just went away. It was gone. I went to the gym, worked out, came home. And I do have like a small pea protein shake with maybe a little, like a half a banana, and some spinach and some chia seeds and things, and for a protein drink after the gym. So I'll take that about 1 o'clock, maybe 200 calories. Then about 4:30, I just have this monster meal that's like 2,000 calories of vegan food, which consists of tons of beans, tortillas, bread, potatoes. I'll have bowls of fruit. I'll have vegan cereal, tofu, edamame, all these things. And it works out fine. I eat that one big meal. And what's amazing about it is after you eat that much food in one setting, you're not hungry for the rest of the day. There is no problem, for me anyway, with going to sleep hungry. That doesn't happen. If anything, you go to sleep going, whew, I might need to cut back a little bit on that meal because it's so much food at once. And because I'm not eating junk food, it's a lot of food. When you cut out all the processed foods, which has happened to me naturally, when I started eating this vegan type of thing, all of a sudden I stopped eating processed foods. It just stopped happening because you have to start reading labels and it becomes easier. Just let me have the whole food, instead of getting a package of something. You end up just eating the piece of food. Like instead of yogurt, you just have a bowl of fruit. Instead of drinking milk, it's almond milk. It just makes things much easier. And it kind of happened by accident, but I don't eat processed foods much anymore. I've had some vegan frozen ice cream or frozen yogurt. I have some vegan pop chips. But for the most part, I stopped drinking Monster Energy drinks completely. I haven't had a Monster Energy drink in 2 weeks, and I haven't done that for years. I've been drinking anywhere from 1 to 6 Monsters a day for a couple of years. I knew it was bad. Everyone was warning me I was going to die, but I liked drinking them. But they just kind of faded away. Once I tuned into this more whole foods-based type of diet, plant-based foods diet, the craving for the Monsters just went away. It's the weirdest thing. Will it last forever? Who knows? But for right now, it's fun. So yeah, man, right now the combination of the vegan diet and eating one meal a day, it's hard to keep weight on, I'll tell you that. I've lost several pounds. Like when I went vegan, I lost maybe 4 or 5 pounds over a couple weeks. And then switching to one meal a day, I dropped like another 2 or 3 pounds maybe the second day that I did it. But that's fluctuating. Some mornings after I do the one meal a day, I'll wake up and I'll drop 2 pounds. Other mornings, I'm up 2 pounds. So I'm waiting to see how that balances out. But it's a really cool and unique experiment. I'm not saying you should try it, or I'm not saying anyone should do anything. I'm just sharing what I'm doing. It's kind of fun. And it's fun to me just to prove I hate rules, man. I've always hated rules, man. I always had a suspicion that all of the rules, the laws, the lessons, the teachings, the everything that we're taught. I remember being a little kid, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, and thinking to myself, like, this is all a scam. This isn't right. The simple things like, why is it that when we're born, if this is a free world, right? Why is it that when we're born, we literally get a number applied to us? and a name. And that name and number goes in a file, and you're tracked throughout your entire life. And then your fingerprints are identified. And like, that seemed really suspicious to me. But no one really talks about it. And then the whole fact that, like, no one really knows why we're here on Earth. We don't know how life started. We don't know how it ends. We don't know what happens before or after. We have some ideas, some religious concepts that require faith to work because they don't make any sense. And I realized all that at a very young age, was asking questions. And that's what I'm still doing, is asking questions. And the questions with this is, number one, can I survive without eating animals? And the answer so far is 1,000% yes. So who told us we need animal food? Companies that make animal-based products, the meat and the dairy, those industries, they pay millions, if not billions, of dollars to teach us that we need that we need to eat it. It's sad, really. The whole 3 meals a day, who came up with that? The food companies that want you to eat more, 3 times a day with snacks in between. And almost all of these things can be traced back to, at some point, some corporation paid someone some money to make up a rule that would get humans to do this on a massive scale. And, things like the food pyramid. Those were bought and paid for by certain industries so that they would recommend certain foods, so that parents would then begin teaching the children, so they would grow up with it and teach their children. And then it just becomes ingrained in our lives and in our brains that you're supposed to eat a lot of protein. You're supposed to, you need healthy chicken. Eat chicken is healthy. It's really strange. It's really, really weird. Just kind of ranting. Don't have the answers. I'm still experimenting, but I'm having a lot of fun with it. This is the longest it's ever lasted for me, and will it last forever? I don't know, man. I don't know, guys. It's just Friday, and I want to share what's going on, and that's what's going on. So we're at 12 minutes. I'm going to wrap it up. But, man, the vegan thing is a success so far. I'm doing my best not to talk about it too much in my personal life because people don't want to hear about it, and I understand. When people used to say they were vegan, I would tune out. I don't care. I'm over it. Don't tell me. You can't tell me what to do. That same attitude, like, okay, now you're telling me I can't eat meat. I'm going to eat 10,000 pounds of meat. I'm going to go to a Brazilian meat steakhouse and just eat piles of it. But so I try not to talk about it too much. But I do think it's interesting, and I do think it would be beneficial for the world if we made the transition from meat to plant-based foods. And most scientists and doctors and like people that aren't paid by these industries would agree. Most people that aren't being paid by these industries agree. But the sad thing is it turns out, if you believe what they're talking about in the documentaries, all of the companies that regulate food are being paid for and sponsored by certain food companies that make all the foods that these corporations, that these places are supposed to be protecting us from, like the Diabetes Foundation of whatever. They're being paid for by companies who produce foods that give you diabetes. So they actually recommend diabetes-giving foods on their website as healthy recipes because it's a pay-for-play type of scheme, just like everything else. Anyway, it's Friday. I love you. That's all I have to say. I wanted to be sure and get a video up here for my hardcore troopers because we just passed 8,000 subscribers. I'm going to do a video about that specifically in the future. And I can't believe it. I mean, I still don't know for sure who you are. I still don't know for sure what I'm talking about, but I'm having a fun time talking about it. And I hope you are too. So thanks for tuning in. Have a great weekend, man. It's Friday. Do whatever you want. Stay out of trouble. And as always, coffee cheers on the way out. Boom. Have a good day. And I will see you in the future.